Thank you so much for joining us here on Joy News Prime. Now, the NPP flag bearer aspirant, Alan Kyerematen, has officially withdrawn from the highly contested race. Mr. Kyerematen, who secured the third position in the recently held Super Delegates Conference, cited a multitude of intimidation tactics, both direct and indirect, as the primary reason for his decision. The aspiring candidate made this announcement following reports of alleged intimidation incident that occurred at various voting centers across all 16 regions during the party's selection process. Now, we'll look at that statement pretty shortly. And there it is on your screen. It says, on Sunday, the 27th of August 2023, I issued a public statement which made reference to the selection and shortlisting of presidential aspirants by the Special Electoral College convened by the New Patriotic Party, NPP, on the 26th of August 2023. Now, after having carefully analyzed the result of the said elections, it is absolutely clear to me from events leading to, during and after the elections that the Special Delegate Conference was strategically and tactically skewed in favor of one particular aspirant. Now, the pronouncement made by some leading members of our party, both before and after the elections, also lend weight to my observations. Now, the level of intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across the 16 regions is unprecedented in the history of our party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in the Northeast region has suffered severe damage to his eyesight arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee will forever remain a dark spot in the history of the internal elections within the party. Now, the incident and various acts of violence and collusion reported in other voting centers are appalling, and he goes on to say, unconscionable and despicable. And he ends by saying, I'm committed to and value the safety of those who work with me, for me, and I'll always fight for their interests. And so that is the statement there from the Alan Kyerematen camp. I have been joined in studio by our analyst, data analyst Kofi Ajay, in studio here. So share with us, what have you found out so far per the records of Alan Kyerematen?
Well, so we've been looking at Alan's trend in terms of his performance in all of the presidential race, and there's an interesting trend where Alan actually came in the scene in 2007. He contested against the current President Akufo-Addo, and in 2007, the candidates needed 50% plus one in order to become the flag bearer of the NPP. None of them, neither President Akufo-Addo or Alan Kyerematen, was able to get that 50% plus one. Alan, that was his first time contesting against President Akufo-Addo, was able to garner 32.3% of the vote. Then in 2010, after he was beaten in 2007, he came against President Akufo-Addo one more time, and he was defeated. Now, his performance then drops from that 39.2% to 19.91% in 2010. 2014, they introduced what we call the Super Delegates Conference because there were more than 10 candidates, more than 5 candidates on the ballot. So that was the first time we had it. President Akufo-Addo versus Alan again. And what we saw was that Alan then drops in percentage terms from that 32.3%, 2007, 19, and then drops to 9.87%. So at this point, you can see a steady decline in terms of Alan's performance or popularity as far as the NPP presidential race is concerned. Then comes 2014, the biggest drop. 2014, Alan drops from the 19.91% in 2010 now to 4.75%. So at this point, you would be convinced that per the data and holding other factors constant, Alan's popularity in the party kept dwindling. But it is also important and fair to note that if you compare his super delegate performance between 2014 and 2023, there is a marginal upward increase from what we call the 9.87% in 2014 to 10.27 and 29% in 2003. But if Alan is pulling out, Carlos, then we need to analyze one interesting factor of this whole election, what we call the Alan Kyerematen effect.
Okay.
So holding other variables constant, again, let me stress on that. Alan Kyerematen actually has an impact on what happens in the Ashanti region anytime he's defeated or anytime there's something goes wrong in the party. So for instance, in 2007, when he came into the scene, for instance, President Akufo-Addo then defeats him. What happened in the Ashanti region was that they actually, drop in their percentage terms in terms of the votes. They dropped by more than some 2 percentage points in 2000 in the main election in 2008. There you have it on your screen. So 2007, Alan got defeated. Then in the main election, Ashanti region drops by 4.75%. Then let's go to 2010. He lost again. What happened in the Ashanti region? The same trend continued, dropped by 1.6 percentage points. Then 2014, he lost, but he did something unique. He decided to now declare his support for President Akufo-Addo, went on campaign tour with him. What happened in the Ashanti region? They now increased their vote by 5.4 percentage points. 2020, COVID-19. President Akufo-Addo was allowed to go unopposed. See what happened in the Ashanti region. There was a drop by 3.5 percentage points. So this is what we call the Alan effect. So if Alan Kyerematen is pulling out honorably, what is actually going to happen in the Ashanti region if we hold all other factors constant?
Which means this is likely to have some level of impact on the MPP's vote.
Absolutely. If we hold all other factors constant, per this data, there's some sort of interesting trend, but we hope to see elections have different dynamics, and we hope to see what happens on November 4th, and then also 2024.
All right. Thank you so much, my colleague Kofi Eje here in the joint newsroom, giving us those details about the Alan effect. Now, political marketing strategist Professor Kobe Mensah also joins us via Zoom with more analysis on this particular development. Mr. Kobe, if you can hear me, can you refer to this as a strategy? Hello, Prof. Professor Kobe Mensah. Yeah, so I want to know whether you see this as a strategy from the Alan camp.
Hello. Well, I'm not sure that it's a strategy. I think that is a genuine concern that he's expressing. Of course, he had.
Cannot hear you. Go here.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, Prof, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying that, well, of course, after the Super Delegates elections, there were quite a number of concerns that had been outlined by various competitors. Boache Jaku had actually complained. Of course, Kennedy Japan had complained, and Alan's team had complained. And they had said that they were going to analyze the election and will come back later. I think that this is actually as a result of their displeasure against the processes that were put forward in the delegate elections, and they don't think that going forward in November, it would be an equal playing field. So I'm not sure it's a strategy, but I think that it's a very huge blow to the party. I think that it's a very grave concerns that he has, and he doesn't think that the process will inure to his benefit as a result of this particular statement.
All right, so do you see this having any impact at all on the MPP's performance going forward? Because all variables are on the table now. He could pull out, go independent. He can maybe join forces with Bawumia. We don't know yet. But do you see this having any impact at all on the MPP's fortunes?
Of course, it's a huge dent on the party's brand, no doubt about it. Don't forget, the MPP is known as a due process, and that's what they pride themselves with. For a very stalwart of the party to come and level these allegations against the party, it actually spells out the cracks in the party, which they need to actually sit down closely and try and find solutions to them. And I think that it also undermined the November process. Remember, 5 candidates were supposed to go through in November. Of course, Alan Kyerematen having resigned, actually undermines the process because the conditions based on which he had pulled out, he says that he doesn't think that will be addressed. As a result, he's pulling out. It means that already people are anticipating that the November process will not be free and fair. And so it would go against the party's image. Come 2024, other opposing parties would actually use that against them. So certainly it has a lot to do with the party's image and its chances going forward.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Kobe Mensah, for your thoughts with us here on Join Us Prime.